Alright, here's my complete build guide for Evernight. As usual, in this video, I'll first go through her overall kit and her playstyle, followed by her Eidolons, her best relics and Lightcones, and finally her synergies. So leave a like if you find this video helpful, and please check the pinned comment for any extra notes or corrections. And with that, let's get started. This video is sponsored by LD Shop, a safe and reliable game top-up site. From the creators of one of the best emulators, LD Player, it offers affordable prices in most game items through official ways. Like games such as Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact top-ups are purchased from Razer Gold, so you don't have to worry about getting banned. Something I can testify for myself, as I have been using it for my monthly supply passes. It also does not require any of your account information, just the user ID and server. You just hop into LD Shop, select your preferred game, select the pack, then type your UID and server, and then just click on top up, select your preferred payment option, and that's basically it. Within a moment, you get your jades. It's a fast and easy process with tons of positive reviews. And also, if you are someone who regularly spends on the game, there's a VIP system that rewards you with a free express supply pass if you spend over $80 a month. Also, if you use my link, you'll be getting free coupons for even more discounts. I know you'll be spending for your favorite character, so why not do yourself a favor and save some money? Just click on the link in the description or in the pinned comment and check out LD Shop. So, Evernight. She's a 5-star ice unit following the path of remembrance. As such, she has her memo sprite, Evie. She's your standard HP scaling damage dealer, with solid utility for her teammates. I won't call her a sub DPS, because her damage in optimal situation can rival the main DPS of the team. One cool thing about her is that, just like Caster is, none of her abilities consume any skill points, making her team overall very SP friendly. Looking at her base stats, she has really high HP, good enough attack and defense, 99 speed, and a 240 energy cost ultimate, which is on the higher end. Starting with her abilities, now given she is a remembrance unit, meaning a wall of text for a kit, so let's go through it in a way that would make more sense. First is her talent. When entering combat, Evernight summons her memo sprite Evie. It has a 160 base speed and has 50% of Evernight's HP. Apart from that, every other stat are the same. Now when either Evernight or Evie loses HP, both their crit damage is increased for 2 turns, and they gain 2 Memoria. Now what is this Memoria? Well, this is Evernight's unique point system, and this increases the damage multiplier of Evie's skills, which I'll talk about in a bit. When Evernight has 16 or more Memoria points, she dispels and becomes immune to crowd control debuffs, and if her memo sprite Evie is present on the field, it immediately takes action, and then they can do their respective attacks. Now how do we gain more of these Memoria points? For that, we have Evernight's skill. She consumes her own HP to summon Evie, and then increases all allies' memo sprites crit damage, based on Evernight's own crit damage. Do note that this is only for other memo sprites, not for the units. Now if Evie is already present, it will heal Evie instead. After that, Evernight will gain 2 Memoria. Also, if Evernight is in the Darkness Riddle state, then she will gain an additional 12 Memoria, which is huge. So what is the state? For that, we have her ultimate, which also summons her memo sprite Evie, and then Evie deals AoE damage to all enemies, meaning this damage will scale off Evie's HP, not Evernight's. It will also make Evernight enter the Darkness Riddle state. In this state, all enemies take 30% more damage, and Evernight and Evie gain 60% damage boost. Also, both Evernight and Evie are immune to crowd control debuffs, and she gains 2 Darkness Riddle charge. Now these charges are consumed when Evie uses her skill 2, and when there are no charges remaining, Evernight will exit the Darkness Riddle state. Now since everything is connected to her memo sprite Evie's skills, let's talk about that now. Evie has 2 skills. Let's call it skill 1 and skill 2. The skill 1 simply deals ice damage to a single target, and then based on the number of Memoria points she has, deals further damage to that single target. After that, Evernight gains 1 point of Memoria. Now this skill 2 is the core ability of Evernight's whole kit. When Evernight has 16 or more Memoria points, this attack can be used. It is an AoE attack that deals more damage based on the number of Memoria points Evernight has. After use, it consumes all Memoria points and HP from Evie, and then it will disappear. This is the highest damage attack in her kit, and everything in her kit like her talent's action advance, allowing Evie to use this attack immediately when 16 Memoria points is reached, and the Darkness Riddle state that gives 12 additional Memoria points when using Evernight's skill. All of it comes down to this attack, so in the end you want to make Evie disappear with her skill 2, with the highest amount of Memoria you can have, as that increases the skill 2's damage. Now one thing to note about this attack is that aside from consuming all Memoria, it also generates 2 Memoria at the end. What happens here is that the attack first deals damage and then it consumes all Memoria and HP, making Evie disappear. So the HP drain occurs after the attack, and because of that HP drain, you are left with 2 Memoria. Pretty cool, huh? Then we have Evie's talent, which basically makes Evie immune to CC debuffs, and they have a higher chance of being attacked. Also, while Evernight is present on the field, both Evernight and Evie's damage dealt is increased by 50%. For the 2 extra passives, one allows Evie to take action immediately when summoned, and the second one gives Evernight 10% speed boost when Evie disappears. Also, if Evie disappears from the use of her skill 2, then for each point of Memoria used in that attack, Evernight gains 1% additional speed boost, up to a maximum of 40%. So at max, after using Evie's skill 2, Evernight can get 50% speed increase for max 40 points. Also, this speed boost is removed at the start of Evernight's turn. So basically, it allows Evernight to take turn faster after Evie disappears, so that she can resummon her Memo Sprite with her skill. And if she is in the Darkness Riddle state, that's pretty much another skill 2 right there. Lastly, we have Evernight's technique, which simply gives the same crit damage increase as in her skill to all the Memo Sprites in the team, and she gains 1 Memoria. For her traits level up priority, I would say everything beside Evernight's basic attack should be maxed out, as every ability has some kind of damage buff. But for a simple roadmap, I would recommend leveling up the Memo Sprite skill, Evernight's ultimate and talent first, as they seems to have the highest damage buffs. Then go for the Memo Sprite talent and Evernight's skill, and lastly her basic attack, which you can simply leave at level 1 if you want. Moving on to her passives. Her first passive increases her crit rate by 35%, making her easier to build. Also, when using any ability on either Evernight or Evie, it will consume 5% of their HP and will increase crit damage of both by 15% for 2 turns. The HP consumption is great for generating more Memoria. Also, after using Evie's skill 2, it regenerates 1 skill point for the team. Now Evernight is very SP friendly as she doesn't consume any skill point to begin with, but she also doesn't generate any SP for the team, so this kinda helps with that. Her second passive gives her 70 energy and 1 Memoria at the start of the battle, and when she or any ally Memo Sprite uses any ability, it regenerates 5 energy for Evernight and gives her 1 Memoria. Now in a typical MOC run, all characters start with 50% energy, so for Evernight it's 120. With this, she is already at 190 energy at the start of the battle. This combined with the extra energy from other Memo Sprites allows her a first turn ultimate. Lastly, her third passive gives crit damage to all the Memo Sprites based on the number of remembrance units in the team. The duration is based on Evernight's skill. As long as that stays active, this crit damage boost will stay active as well, which is basically all the time. Now the condition of having remembrance unit and other Memo Sprites generating energy for Evernight basically means she wants to be slotted into a Castro's team, where most of the units are of the remembrance path. I'll talk more about this in the team section. As for her bonus stats, after maxing out her traces, Evernight gains 18.7% crit rate, 18% HP, and 13.3% crit damage. Bro, is it just me? Or all remembrance units are getting way too many stats in their bonuses? Anyways, after all that, how do we play Evernight? Well, she's a very streamlined unit. By that, I mean she has a very obvious playstyle that she wants to be played in. You basically start with her skill into ultimate as she gets so much energy at the start. Evie will also be summoned right at the beginning and it will immediately take a turn because of her extra passive. But since at the start you won't have 16 Memoria points, Evie will use her skill 1. Then you generate as much Memoria as possible before their next turn, in which they will use their skill 2 and disappear. This is for the first skill 2 from Evie. After that, it's basically use Evernight's skill and summon Evie, then it will immediately take a turn and use their skill 2 and again disappear. This is because of all the attacks from the enemy reducing HP of Evernight, or any other Memo Sprite using their ability, and of course the Darkness Riddle state, you will easily have more than 16 Memoria points before every Evernight's turn. So it's basically gonna be Evernight taking turn, using her skill, summoning Evie, then Evie using their skill 2 and disappear. And that's the streamlined playstyle that Evernight wants to be played in. The Memoria generation may vary based on the team and investment, but the overall playstyle will remain the same. Let's touch on our Memoria generation a bit. Evernight has a few ways of generating Memoria. For a simple TLDR, Evernight's skill generates 2 points of Memoria, Using any ability on either Evernight or any ally Memo Sprite will generate 1 point, and using Evi skill 1 will also generate 1 point. Lastly, when either Evernight or Evi lose HP, it will generate 2 points of Memoria each. So like any AoE attack that reduces both Evernight's and Evi's HP, it will generate 4 Memoria points. Also, Evernight's skill consumes HP, so in addition to the 2 Memoria that the skill generates, it will also generate 2 Memoria for the HP loss. There are various ways in which these 4 basic Memoria generating abilities work, so no need to go super deep into it. Just focus on getting as many Memoria points as possible before Evi skill 2. As for how do you do it, since after using Evernight's skill, Evi will most likely get the next turn, so you try to gain Memoria before Evernight's turn. Having more Memoria points also helps with the speed boost that Evernight gets after the skill 2, so that she can take the next turn faster and summon Evi again. Last thing to talk about is her ultimate. Now given the 240 energy cost, you are not getting a 1 to 2 turn ultimate rotation. Even though the ultimate only gives 2 darkness riddle charges, and the next 2 turns after the ultimate consumes those charges, you will not get the ultimate in those 2 turns, even with the extra energy from other Memo Sprites. As such, there will be some downtime for both the 30% damage taken and the 60% damage boost. At best, you will get 3 to 4 turn ultimates in a normal Castro's team. Now if you do play her with someone like Sunday, they will be able to generate quite a lot of energy for her, to the point that she will be able to get 2 to 3 turn ultimates. Now she will be taking more turns because of the action advance from Sunday, but her ultimate still only gives 2 charges, so there will still be around a 1 turn downtime with her darkness riddle state. It's just the overall rotation will become much faster because of Sunday's action advance. And that's basically everything about her playstyle. As I said in the beginning of the section, Evernight has a very streamlined playstyle. The turn order may become faster depending on the team, but the overall playstyle remains the same. Now let's talk about her Eidolons. As usual, for all the calculations shown in the video, this is the team I have used. It's your standard Castro's team, and I have considered a single ultimate rotation. So now, first we have her E1. When Evernight is on the field, for the number of enemies present, all Memo Sprite in the team gain true damage. This is a pretty broken Eidolon, but for a specific team, since it's only for Memo Sprites and not for the Memo Master. For the cases where the Memo Master also deals damage like Aglaya, her damage will not get affected by this. On the other hand, for a team like the Castro's team, where her Dragon, Evi, and Hyacinth's Ika are dealing most of the damage, this is a massive DPS increase for the whole team. Her E2 gives herself and Evi 40% crit damage, and every time they gain Memoria, they will gain an additional 2 points. Also, after using her ultimate, now they gain 2 more darkness riddle charge. So like, let's say both Evernight and Evi got hit by an AoE attack. That's 4 Memoria because of their HP loss, but with this, it will be 6 points of Memoria. Basically, no matter how many points they get, it will be increased by 2 points. This super buffs Evernight's Memoria Generation, and now that Evernight gets 4 darkness riddle charges every ultimate, all the buffs will have no downtime, and every skill from Evernight will generate a ton of Memoria. And since the damage from the skill 2 is based on Memoria points, and the speed buff after that, it's a massive DPS increase for herself. For her E4, this is kinda weird. While Evernight is on the field, ally Memo Sprites will get 25% weakness break efficiency, and Evi will gain 50% weakness break efficiency. Now I don't see any synergy with break teams, so I don't know why this is here. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess it can be helpful in Epoch Shadow. Lastly, her E6. While Evernight is on the field, everyone in the team gets 20% rest pen, and after Evi uses their skill 2, Evernight will gain 30% of the Memoria consumed in the attack. This makes her Memoria points go super high, and with the team-wide rest pen, the overall team DPS increase is the highest among her Eidolons. Overall, none of her Eidolons are necessary for her core playstyle and the team she wants to be played in. She is, in my opinion, a perfectly complete unit at E0. Going above that, like her E1, is just more damage for the team. It is a good enough increase, so if you want to go for it, it won't disappoint. As for the E2, this is most useful in a hypercarry team with Sunday, since in those teams, there won't be as many Memo Sprite users, and her Memoria generation will be slow, and this can help with that. For a normal Castro's team, she really doesn't need this. The extra darkness riddle charges is also most useful in a hypercarry team, where you really do not want any downtime in her buffs. Anything above this is just not worth it. By the way, if you are enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, as it does help the channel grow and motivates me to make more content for you guys. Now let's talk about her builds, starting off with her Lightcones. And well, here we go again with the remembrance path and their lack of alternatives. Now her signature is of course her best in slot. It has a really high base HP, great for an HP scaler like Evernight. The Lightcone first gives HP percent to the user, and then it gives 20% defense ignore to all the memo sprite in the team. This is just too good for the type of team Evernight wants to be played in. After that, it also gives damage boost, and lastly, when the user's memo sprite dies, it generates some energy for them. This can allow her to have a 3-turn ultimate rotation in a normal team, and with Sunday, it may even come close to 2-turn ultimates. Overall, this is the perfect all-rounder option for Evernight. For the alternatives, there are 2 5-star Lightcones which are close to her signature. First, we have Castorius' Lightcone. With its high base HP and defense ignore, it's a great option for her personal damage. It also provides action advance after the memo sprite dies, which will help her take turn faster after every skill too. The other one is going to be Hyacinth's Lightcone, and this is a stupid Lightcone that at this point has become more of a must pull than any other remembrance Lightcone in HSR. Let me explain. This first has a pretty high base HP, which is great for Evernight. The additional damage may not make that much of a difference, but the AoE damage taken has a similar impact as her signature's defense ignore. Combining all this, the team damage from this Lightcone comes really close to her signature. But that's not even the craziest thing about this Lightcone. The biggest thing here is the team-wide HP consumption when the wearer uses any ability. This team-wide HP consumption will generate charge for Castorius' Dragon. It will also trigger Ika's healing, which will again fuel Castorius' Dragon. But most of all, this generates 4 Memoria points for Evernight. A team-wide HP consumption, meaning both Evernight and Evi are losing HP, and that will generate 4 Memoria. The point generation that this Lightcone provides is broken. If your Hyacinth is using this in the team, it's all good. But if she is not for some reason, you can use this on Evernight herself if you don't have her signature. After this, all other options are pretty similar in damage. The 2 4-star Battle Pass options are great at S5, but requires you to buy Battle Pass 5 times. And the Gacha 4-star Lightcone is well gacha. If you're lucky and you have it, then you can use it. Otherwise, as a last resort, you can use the Herta Store Lightcone. This is slightly better than any Abundance Lightcone or Destruction Lightcone you may be thinking of using. But also, a higher base HP Lightcone can be good for Castorius' charge generation. Overall, we all knew this would happen the moment she was announced as a Remembrance unit. Now for which to get between her signature or her E1, the difference in damage between the two is not that much, but the signature Lightcone is definitely better because of the high HP and personal damage, and also the team-wide defense ignore for the memo sprites. But if you want to only use her in a hyper carry team, or if you have other premium Lightcone options like Castorius' Lightcone or Hyacinth's Lightcone, then going for her E1 would be better, not only for the true damage, but also because it gets you closer to that E2, which is crucial for a hyper carry Evernight. On to her best relic sets. For 4-piece sets, the new upcoming World Remarking Deliverer set is going to be her best in slot. It first gives her some crit rate and then grants her more HP and crit damage when she uses her basic attack or skill. It synergizes perfectly with Evernight's kit, as she already gets so much crit rate from her kit that HP percentage stats and crit damage are overall better. A good alternative is going to be the Hunter of Glacial Forest set. This increases ice damage and gives crit damage after she uses her ultimate. Even though it is only for 2 turns, and you might face some downtime, but it is still her second best option. Aside from these two, other options are just for stat gain, like the Hero of the Triumphant Song set, any 2-piece combo of HP and ice damage, or even the Genius set if you can proc it. If you are not using either the Deliverer set or the Glacial Forest set, then among the other options, just use the set that has better substats. For 2-piece sets, the only good option is going to be the Bone Collection set. It gives crit damage and HP, which is perfect for Evernight, and the HP goal of 5000 is very easy to reach for her. Other than this, she doesn't really have a set that works with her kit. You can kind of use the Banana set for the initial 16% crit damage, but it's not even close to the Bone Collection set. For Relic Stats, here's a reference build. Everything here is based on relics with the lowest of substat rolls, but the Lightcone used is her signature, so without it, her HP will be lower than this. But the other stats are reachable for most players. For main stats on the pieces, you can go 2 ways here. For Castorius team build, you want to go full HP on all the pieces. She already gets tons of crit rate and crit damage from her self buffs. You literally start at 40% crit rate with no relics, and she gets plenty of crit damage buffs, so go full HP on every piece. This will generate generate more charge for Castris' dragon, and her personal damage will be solid as well, as she does scale of HP. If you're going for a hyper carry team, then using a crit damage body and an ice damage orb will get you a bit more damage, and a speed boot if you want to go with a -1 speed comb with Sunday. What I have shown here is for a Castris team. Since I already have 3 HP main stat pieces, I'm simply using speed boost to reach the 134 speed point for better cycling. For substats, just go for the usual crit rate and crit damage first, and then some HP would be nice. For stat goals, try to get as much HP as you can from the main stats or substats if you go for a hyper carry build. For crit rate, try not to go above 65%, as she already gets 35% from her first passive, so anything more than that will result in overcapping. Get a decent amount of crit damage, around 140 to 150% should be more than good enough for a full HP build, and 180 to 200% for a hyper carry build. Speed is all about what you need at the moment. For situations like zero cycling, or if you have a E2, where having more speed may be beneficial, since you won't have to worry about Memoria Generation, and want to utilize all the darkness riddle charges before her ultimate comes back. And finally, let's talk about her synergies. And this is going to be a pretty short segment, at least compared to other units, as there's only 2 or maybe 3 teams that she can be played in. So let's talk about those. The first and the most obvious team is going to be Castris team. Here you would either replace RMC for having them available for other teams, or for a different path that they might get in the future. Or you replace Tribi, because you either don't have her, or she is currently being used in another team. And either way, you will gain more damage. Evernight has solid damage buffs for Memo Sprites, and with her personal damage, which is higher than both RMC and Tribi, and is even higher than the extra true damage that Castris gets from RMC, she can easily replace either of them. Now the best option here is going to be RMC, because even though their true damage and the action advance are massive increase in DPS, but that is only for a single character. Compared to that, Tribi simply provides way too much team-wide utility, which is really good for a team like this, where every character is dealing damage. Not to mention the action advance from Dance Dance Dance. Although in certain scenarios like zero cycling, where the action advance from RMC determines you getting a zero cycle or not, for such cases, having RMC will be better. But generally, even though RMC completes the 4 remembrance units comp for Evernight's passive, Tribi simply has way too much value to be replaced. Now what about other units? Well, Castris definitely benefits from another high HP remembrance unit who also consumes their own HP for solid charge generation. Do know that every time Evie uses her skill 2, they consume all of their HP and then disappear, and that HP consumption generates a lot of charge for Castris. And of course the extra damage taken and all the Memo Sprite buffs provides a massive damage increase. As for Hyacinth, well, her presence in this team is unmatched, with her insane synergy with Tribi and the continuous team-wide healing, generating charge for Castris, and of course her Memo Sprite Ika taking frequent turns will generate energy and Memoria for Evernight. And also, if you have her signature Lightcone, well, that is one of the biggest sources of Memoria for Evernight. If you thought the previous Castris team was one of the most synergistic team in the game, well, this is even better. Currently, this team is the best and the most premium team for Evernight. The second team is simply a Castris team but without Castris. Here, instead of replacing either RMC or Tribi, you are replacing Castris. The rest of the team remains the same. You build her with more crit rate and damage, and this becomes a really good team if you don't have Castris. Similar to her, Evernight can take full benefits from all of these units. Now I haven't shown any alternative units for these teams, and that's because there aren't any. With RMC and Hyacinth, you are at least getting 3 remembrance units to proc her third passive. Otherwise, you lose out on her passive's crit damage buff. And even if you don't care about that, replacing someone like Tribi will result in heavy damage loss, as there aren't any good harmony units for HP scalers, and any Nihility unit just doesn't provide as much damage amp as Tribi. And lastly, replacing Hyacinth will result in slow Memoria Generation, especially if your Hyacinth is using a signature Lightcone. So as you can see, Evernight is very specific about who she wants in her team. Lastly, we have a team with Sunday, with either RMC and Hyacinth or Tribi and Hyacinth. Now this and the last team can be considered hyper carry teams, and the previous team is by all means better than this one in terms of damage. But if you really want to play her with Sunday, well, there you have it. A few things to note here is that just because Evernight has a Memo Sprite with their own speed doesn't mean Sunday is the perfect support for her. Yeah, he can action advance both her and Evie, but most of the time, Evi will not be on the field because after using their skill 2, they disappear, and only after Evernight gets a turn and uses their skill, Evi gets resummoned. So most of the time, the 100% action advance doesn't even affect Evi. This works with casters if you don't explode her dragon, but with Evernight, is not that synergistic. That's why, if you really want to play hypercarry teams with Evernight, just replace casters in her team, and that would perform much better than this. All in all, these are the 3 teams that Evernight can be played in. As I said earlier, she is a very premium unit that requires premium teammates. Overall, Evernight is to RMC is what Fugue was to Harmony MC. Just like Fugue got perfectly slotted into break teams, replacing HMC and freeing them to be used in other teams or for when they got a new path. Here Evernight is basically freeing up RMC for other teams or for a future path. As for her value, she is very specific. Like if you don't need her for your Castries team, or if you don't have her required teammates, then you literally do not get any value out of her. She is also really expensive, as her Lightcone choices are extremely limited. So pulling her is going to be a decision based on your account. You need to look at your roster and see if you can benefit from her or not. With Evernight, it's a very simple and straightforward choice. You either benefit a lot from getting her, or you literally get nothing out of her. There is no middle ground. And that's going to be it for my guide on Evernight. I really hope it answered any questions you had about her. If you have any other issue, you can leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. The next video is going to be a full guide on the new Dan Heng, so look forward to that. Like and sub if you enjoy my content. Thanks a lot for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.